now 4 o'clock,
This
and
meeting is being recorded.
this meeting is being recorded, and we're all here. Um, so I will call the meeting to order. This meeting obviously is being held in um, consistent with State of California Executive Order number 29-20 and Alameda County Health Officer Order number 20-10. And we are holding this meeting via phone and video conferencing, and people are able to join in that way. So welcome everyone. And I see that we have both of the other members of this committee besides me present, Councilmember Al Mendel, Councilmember Mark Salinas. So let the record reflect that all members of the committee are present. Ms. Phyllis is making note of that. And so I will open this up for public comments, and let's just see. Usually go around. Okay. Is there, we do have some attendees from the public. Is there anyone who would like to make a public comment? If you can, use the raise hand feature if you're attending on Zoom. I don't see anyone doing that. Ms. Phyllis, did you?
Yes, if you're joining by phone, click *9 to raise a hand to speak. Press *6 to unmute if you aren't in the Zoom app and you can't raise your hand. Let me see. I don't see any hands, and I don't hear any requests to speak.
All right, then we'll close public comments and move on to approval of the minutes for the October 5th meeting.
So moved.
Is that
Second.
you, Mendel? Okay.
Is there a second from Councilmember Salinas?
Second.
I am in favor as well, so the minutes are approved.
Thank you.
And thank you for that thorough job that you always do. We appreciate that. We will now move on to item number 2, which is a discussion of the Missions Crossings Project commercial frontage. And I think we will probably hear from Mr. Nguyen first. Is that correct? Or
I think, Sarah, did you want to introduce this item?
I'm happy to do whatever.
hi.
Okay, so I will begin. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the CEDC. My name is Sarah Bowser. I'm the planning manager with the city. And today I'm presenting, well, the first project I'll be presenting is related to the Mission Crossings project. As you are all aware, this project was approved many years ago and has been moving towards construction of the residential portion. Good portion of the residential has been constructed, but we've run into some challenges with the build out of the retail and the hotel at the front. Staff presented a proposal to the council mid-September for consideration to allow some release of some additional certificates of occupancy and ultimate build out of that, while some alternative plans were explored for that frontage. At that hearing, council denied that request, wanting to see something move forward on that frontage as was originally proposed, and felt that the leverage that the condition language afforded was the leverage that the city needed in order to realize that frontage development. Fast forward, the developer who is on the call with us here today, we have reps from the ownership of the frontage piece, Mr. Ken Patel, who would be the entity building out the retail and the hotel on that frontage, as well as representatives from MLC Holdings, who were the original entity that entitled that project. And before the CEDC for consideration are some additional items on the table that they want the CEDC to consider, provide some feedback, and depending on the outcome, we could potentially, move forward with a proposal to the full council for consideration. In this particular case, what is before CEDC for some comment is a proposal to present to the city an amount in approximately $1 million that would be unrestricted monies to the city to help to mitigate the potential loss of tax revenue from the delayed hotel and retail development across the frontage. They are also proposing that they would not seek relief from the bonds that MLC and Meritage have put forward for the on-site improvements and off-site improvements required as a part of the residential portion of the development. And that amount is approximately $5 million in bonds that the city holds. And they're suggesting that they wouldn't seek to grant or to have that bond released until such time as we could work on a plan or the ultimate build out of that commercial frontage, as well as the potential deed restriction across that frontage to make sure that what we ultimately see developed on that frontage is commercial. I would say that the current zoning across that frontage does limit what can actually be done across that frontage. There's some limitations because of commercial overlay zones on the front that limit your ability to have any residential on that frontage. But the deed restriction could be in place as a secondary measure to ensure that we're careful about receiving any requests for rezoning or others across the front as a potential additional measure. And so they've laid out a couple of scenarios along those lines for CEDC's comment and feedback. If there is support for that, staff would continue to work with all parties involved on some type of an agreement where we could memorialize that. In exchange, they'd be looking for relief from that condition of approval language that would allow them to continue to build out the last of the residential homes, receive certificates of occupancy, and be able to be sure that they could make the whole residential component of the project a safe environment for those that have already purchased, not leaving any residential buildings vacant, as well as allow the community park space to be able to be open for the residents of that community. At this point, it's a challenge to be able to do so because of where the last remaining buildings are that need to be constructed, which will cause delays in those elements of the project being accessible to the existing residents there. So they're looking for some feedback from CEDC on this proposal. And then, as I mentioned, if based on that feedback, we will continue to work with them and come forward with an agreement that the full council can weigh in on. I'm here to answer any additional questions about this, as is the applicant and reps for the property ownership.
Okay. Thank you. And so I'll ask, do either of my colleagues here have questions about this project or about this proposal?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the group for coming back. You guys, I know this has been a hell of a problem and a hell of a development, and so I wanted to thank you guys sincerely for coming back and talking this through. I really appreciate that. I guess my macro question is, so, and I guess I'm going to ask staff this for a moment. So I have what was talked about the other day in our last council meeting about when we had the economic development. I don't know if that's what they were called. You know what I'm talking about, Sarah. When we had, okay, good. So I have that in the back of my mind, right? And I'm not, and I don't want to let that go. And I also, and I'm also very aware that right now, it's tough on the hotel market to get anything off the ground, and I'm aware of that, and I'm you know, and I also I'm very aware of the urgency to get this project, you know, completed, and because I know, you know, the neighborhood has certainly has reached out to me, and you know, some of the folks in the neighborhood have reached out and talked to me about it, and you know, so between now and until we can start, you know,